violence.
It's wrong.
Oh, yeah, wrong. So wrong.
It depends where you're coming from. Because gang violence can mean defending yourself, and gang violence can mean, like, hurting someone else.
So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. That's a lot of people who have witnessed a crime where someone's used a weapon.
In 2007, 28 young people were killed as a result of violent crime on the streets of London, and the number of young people convicted nationally for carrying weapons has doubled in the past decade.
Got jumped coming from Lewisham, and I got beat up about 5 or 6 boys.
2 people fighting, and one of them was losing, so they picked up a weapon and wrapped them around the head.
My friend's cousin got stabbed and shot, so...
This is always going to be with us. I don't know how we're going to solve this situation, gang wars and all sorts.
This programme looks at the situation in London to find out what schools, governments and the wider community can do to tackle the negative effects of gang culture.
The Violent Crime Action Plan lays out for what the government is going to do over the next, in particular the next 3 years with respect to violent crime. We're going to have weapons awareness programmes, and we're going to deliver that to over 1 million children in schools across the country.
Many government initiatives have been put in place to tackle the problem of violence perpetrated by gangs.
We have to be very careful about words like gangs, but the term gang has connotations today which are much more serious, which suggests a hierarchy, a code of behaviour, an initiation right, the carrying of weapons, the use of violence, and so on and so forth.
If you was to say gang to someone these days now, they'll think, wow, hoodies, tracksuit, that whatever you're wearing, what your trousers you're wearing is halfway down your backside kind of thing. That is you know, these are the kind of labels that's associated to what is deemed as a gang.
Try and think about what you really mean by a gangster. Yeah.
Like when John said a gangster, like what he said, a group of you, it doesn't mean you're a gangster. It means when you're a gangster, you have to be carrying something, and like when you're busting your batty or like wearing your hat back and wearing like...
Ah, I've got a hoodie. I sometimes wear a hoodie, and if it's really cold, I'll put my hood up. Does that make me a gangster?
No.
Does it?
When you hear gang, you automatically think negative. You don't think of a positive gang. So in that sense, like that's where the complications are happening. Like, I mean, the difference between us as a gang and socialising, we're not doing anything wrong, we're just socialising. The difference between the negative gangers, they actually go out and do something to harm society or to do something to someone. There's a big difference.
I think gangs are a real part of young people's lives in London today. The media have a certain slant on it all, which may not be the same as their slant on it all, which is again something that I'm really keen to get out, to learn more myself about what their views are on all this. But I do think it is something that is a reality.
Identifying precisely who's involved in negative gangs is complicated, but the fact remains that peer-to-peer violence is a concern for many young people, and it is an issue that schools have to address. Tricia Jaff is head teacher of Kidbrooke School in South East London.
Kidbrooke's a school which is in the London Borough of Greenwich, and it actually has quite high social need, with large numbers of youngsters who don't live in affluent housing and who have to face all the kinds of issues that young people have to face in inner city areas.
The school is taking the lead by asking its Year 11 students to look into their own views on negative gangs in their latest citizenship project.
Now, these statements are things that you have all come up with, either during discussions or you've written down on your bits of paper that I've looked at in your folders, and they're all reasons why people may get involved in gangs. And they're all things you've come up with. What I want you to do is to read them and look at them and then rank them in a particular order that you think of importance.
Over last year, we began to develop a policy and change the way in which we were delivering everything that we do in terms of the wider aspects of engaging young people in thinking about the world and their lives and their role within it. And we appointed Jim Gordon, who came from a slightly different route back into teaching. He'd been working on Outward Bound activities and the relationship of Outward Bound with engagement of young people who may be disaffected.
Okay, so which one would go first? What do you think which one?
Probably start with Gordon.
No. Gordon? No. No, that don't even exist, man.
Reputation.
Reputation?
Yeah.
Do you think? Yeah, that's the first thing, innit? Teenagers, sparking.
The aims of the project we're doing with the Year 11s is really giving them the opportunity to examine some issues around youth crime and gangs happening in London. Really come from a viewpoint that would say when we're looking at this kind of issues, it's no good teachers or anyone coming and trying to preach and tell the students this is how it is. What we're trying to do is create a learning environment where they can reflect on this issue.
It's just they want to get big. It's nothing else about all the government crap. It's just they want to be big. They want money and be known. That's it.
He's getting so
It is. It's frustrating me. Yeah. They just want to be big. They want to be bad man.
Why though?
When not all of them are not. When they get caught slipping on their own, then they'll see about bad man.
Yeah. Why do they want to be big? Why do they want to be known? Why do they want to be...
So people think, yeah, so they're scared.
So then
Yeah,
they
for
intimidate
idiots.
other people.
Because the first thing they always say, do you know who I am? Do you know who I am? And if you say no, they're like, let me introduce myself. My name is... And they say, yo.
It's not about
money
groups
is
no more.
all evil.
Everyone's got their own
My
thing
dad always
starting.
said that to me.
Some black people, they think that policemen don't treat them well when they stop and search them, because sometimes they actually look at how the person looks. If you're black, they actually stop you and search you, but if you're white, they don't stop you. So this really causes the black people to be in gangs, and they they think we're like this, they think blacks are like this, so let us show them that we're like that.
There are real risks that are out there. There are young people who have, for a host of reasons, become a part of very antisocial behaviour that moves into the kind of gangs and weapons element. Thankfully, a very small number, but enough to create a sense of lack of safety.
What we're going to do is we're going to listen to each table. They're going to give you top three and try and explain why they put them there.
Our first one is deprivation. If you live in a poor environment, in an environment that you can hardly, your mum can hardly provide for you, then what's the point of living? That's what some people think of life, innit?
You need a good reputation.
Yeah,
If you don't have no reputation, people are gonna take you. They're gonna be take you for an idiot, basically.
They think that 50 Cent is their role model because of what he does. He's a famous guy, he sings, yeah, but it's just that because he's famous and he's been in gangs or something like that, and he's been shot 9 times, they think that is cool and they think that they're stronger. Being stronger is cool.
These discussions pave the way for the multimedia projects which the students are preparing about their impressions of gangs. Kidbrooke's status as an arts and media college means they are encouraged to think about different ways of expressing their opinions.
So, there's a big task now. You've got some ideas there. You're going to have to work out what is your presentation going to look like. And remember, it's really open. I'm not going to say it has to be a certain way. A lot of them are using these digital blue cameras that we've brought in, which are kind of very basic cameras that allow them to go home, film what's happening in their area maybe, talk to other people about the issues.
Jim's idea behind this approach is to make the project as accessible as possible to his Year 11s.
Have you ever been attacked?
Yeah. I got jumped coming from Lewisham and I got beat up about 5 or 6 boys.
Boys?
Yeah.
Charlie, how do you feel about gang violence?
I think it's pointless and unnecessary. Yeah, it's just stupid, a waste of time because we should be positive and young, but I don't think that's going to happen.
I think everyone understands the idea of the Big Brother diary room now, for example. YouTube, things like that. They're watching this stuff all the time, and so I think it's a medium they understand and it engages them.
Why do you think people join gangs? What's your opinion?
I think mostly for reputation and to kind of like stick together, because you know there's like bear gangs and kind of like, you know, if one's going to fight then they're all going to jump in, you all have each other's backs, you're buddies.
When you actually hand a camera to a child and you get them to develop their thinking and to create an image which reflects their beliefs, and they're also, if they're working in teams, they're having to talk collectively.
Gun crime now these days, isn't it? It's a big problem.
Yeah.
Like, what can we do about it?
It's not that.
What can Gordon Brown do about it? No. It's just the gun culture now, isn't it?
Personally, yeah, I don't think there's no need to shoot someone. Yeah. Like you got to look at the bigger picture. Yeah? That is someone's son or daughter, yeah, and then some other kid is just taking their life, and you got no right to be taking someone else's life, especially with a gun. Like a knife is one thing, but a gun, yeah, there's really no need for that. Like,
even knife is very lethal as well.
I hope that the students will learn or get the chance to examine some assumptions they may make and examine some behaviours they may get involved in without really thinking about the consequences or why they behave in a certain way. That's one of the big things I'm hoping they're going to get out of this.
Poverty is a big issue as well. Like, there's not enough jobs out there for people to work and get off the streets. So they'll think of the easier solution. They'll be thinking, no, that.
Yeah, so the only way I can make money is drugs. And to get drugs, you have to be in a gang or something.
This is not the slums, yeah. But this is the South East London. It's nothing special, yeah. So the government's thinking, well, I don't really care about that little part. Like looking at the posher areas of London, just keeping them all happy. The people with like, more wealthy, more money and stuff. And down here, like, don't really let them kill themselves if that's what they want to do. He's not really paying much attention.
But even if these projects help young people to think carefully about their opinions, can they actually make a difference to their lives?
I think the level, again, of reflection and the way that some of the students have been able to articulate their feelings and their viewpoints on it has been fantastic, and I think we've had some great discussions that everyone's learnt from.
Has anyone ever seen someone using a kind of weapon or any kind of weapon in an incident outside on the estate or anywhere? Let's just see. Let's have a look how many hands. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. That's a lot of people who have witnessed a crime where someone's used a weapon.
I think one of the real concerns that we have about youth crime and youth crime with respect to violence is that there's no doubt that the age at which some young people are now involved is much younger than it was. If you look at some of the victims of knife crime, if you look at some of the victims of gun crime, they are much younger than they were even just a few years ago.
I think one of the problems as well is that some of the young people that are in them areas that have gang activity going on, negative gang activity, some of them have brothers or sisters or people older that are involved in it as well. So they might see that as a role model to them. So they might know what the right thing is to do, but because they see someone, maybe their brother or someone, maybe a friend, doing that they really look up to, they will still choose to take that road instead of knowing what the right thing is to do.